Once upon a time, in the heart of the ancient kingdom of Zaza, there lived a young prince named Amir. Zaza was a kingdom known for its beautiful green hills, wide rivers, and forests that seemed to stretch forever. The people of Zaza loved their kingdom and were devoted to their wise king, King Musa, and his gentle, compassionate queen, Queen Zainab. Their only child, Prince Amir, had been raised with the values of kindness, courage, and loyalty to the people. As the heir to the throne, Amir knew that one day he would lead his people, but there were whispers among the people that he was too young and untested to truly lead. Amir had always shown a brave heart. He trained with the fiercest warriors of Zaza and learned the ways of leadership from his father. But in his heart, Amir knew that the kingdom wanted him to prove himself in some great way, to show that he was strong enough to defend them if needed. He often wondered what challenge he could face to prove he was ready. One bright morning, as Amir was practicing his sword skills in the palace courtyard, he was called into the grand throne room by his father. The room was magnificent, with towering columns carved with symbols of strength and bravery, and paintings that depicted the kingdom's great battles and peaceful triumphs.
King Musa sat on his throne with a solemn expression, while Queen Zainab looked on with love and pride. Amir felt a shiver of anticipation as he knelt before his father. "My son," King Musa began, his deep voice echoing through the hall, "the time has come for you to embark on a journey that will prove your bravery, wisdom, and strength." He looked deep into Amir's eyes and continued, "You are to seek out the legendary golden horn of the Jajir Taxi beast." A hush fell over the room. The Jajir Taxi beast was known throughout the land, a creature of immense power with scales that shimmered like gold, and a single horn that was said to bring great wisdom, courage, and strength to whoever possessed it. Yet it was also feared. No one who had set out to claim the horn had ever returned, and some people believed that the beast itself was a myth. But King Musa's gaze was steady, and Amir knew this was the test he had long awaited. Without hesitation, Amir accepted the challenge. The next day, with the blessings of his parents and the hopes of his people, he set off on his journey into the unknown. He wore his father's old shield on his back, carried a sturdy spear, and kept with him a small piece of cloth his mother had given him for luck. His path would take him through dense forests, across deep rivers, and finally to the mountains where the Jajir Tachi beast was said to dwell. Amir's first challenge awaited him in the dark forest, a mysterious woodland that stretched for miles. The trees here were like giants, with gnarled, twisted branches that formed a thick canopy overhead, blocking out most of the sunlight. The air was filled with the sounds of birds and rustling leaves, but there was also a strange silence that seemed to follow Amir as he walked. Shadows flitted between the trees, and every now and then he would catch a glimpse of glowing eyes peering out at him from the darkness. Amir's heart beat with a mix of excitement and fear, but he reminded himself that he was on a mission to prove his bravery. He gripped his spear and kept moving forward, his steps light and careful. Suddenly, a low growl echoed through the trees, and out of the shadows stepped a huge black panther, its eyes glowing like embers. For a moment Amir froze. The panther's eyes seemed to pierce right into him, measuring his strength and courage. He had heard tales of a giant panther that guarded the dark forest, but he never thought he would encounter it himself. The panther's gaze was intense, and its muscles were coiled, ready to spring. But Amir stood his ground, holding his spear firmly. The panther prowled around him, its tail flicking back and forth. It seemed to be testing him, waiting to see if he would run. But Amir remained calm, showing no fear. After a long, tense moment, the panther gave a slow, graceful bow of its head as though acknowledging Amir's courage, and slinked back into the shadows. Amir took a deep breath, his heart racing, and continued forward. He had passed the panther's test, and his path was now clear. After days of traveling, Amir came upon a wide, dark river that flowed through the land like a ribbon of ink. This was the River of Shadows, a place of mystery and legend. The water was so dark it appeared black, and it swirled and moved like shadows, shifting on the surface. The river was known for its treacherous currents and strange dangers, and it was said that anyone who fell in would be lost forever. Wandering through the dark waters, Amir stood at the river's edge, looking for a way to cross. Suddenly, a faint light appeared in the water, and from the depths rose a creature he had only heard of in stories, a water serpent. Its body was long and sinuous, covered in scales that sparkled like diamonds. The serpent's eyes were large and as clear as pools, reflecting Amir's image as it stared at him intently. Amir felt a mixture of awe and fear. The water serpent was known to be both wise and unpredictable, a creature that could help or hinder travelers. He knew that he would need to offer something of great value to safely cross the river. Amir had little with him, only his spear, his shield, and the small piece of cloth his mother had given him. He hesitated, looking at the cloth. It was a symbol of his mother's love and protection, and it meant a great deal to him. But he knew he had to make a sacrifice to prove his worth. With a heavy heart, he took out the cloth and laid it by the river as an offering. The water serpent watched him closely, then nodded its head and flicked its tail, creating a shimmering bridge of water across the river. Amir took a deep breath and stepped onto the bridge, feeling the cool, swirling water beneath his feet. He moved carefully, his eyes focused ahead, and with each step, he grew more confident. When he reached the other side, he turned to see the bridge dissolve into the dark river, and the water serpent disappeared back into the depths. Beyond the River of Shadows lay a vast, deep valley surrounded by high cliffs. This was the Valley of Echoes, a place where every sound was repeated again and again. As Amir entered the valley, he noticed that every footstep, every rustle of his clothes echoed off the walls, creating a strange, almost haunting sound. But soon he realized that the echoes weren't just his own sounds. He began to hear whispers, soft, eerie voices that seemed to float through the air. The voices were strange, repeating words that sounded like his own inner thoughts. Some whispers encouraged him, telling him to be brave and strong, but others were darker, filling him with doubts and fears. As he walked forward with determination, the echoes faded, leaving only the sound of his footsteps. He had passed another test, facing his own fears and doubts. With renewed strength, he climbed out of the valley, feeling more confident than ever. After many days of travel and countless challenges, Amir finally reached the towering mountain where the Yajirtachi beast was said to live. The air was thick and heavy with the scent of earth and stone, and a sense of anticipation filled him. He had heard so many stories about the beast. Some said it was as large as a house, with scales as bright as gold, and a single horn that shone like a star. As Amir approached the dark, rocky entrance to the cave, he felt his heart pounding. The cave was dimly lit, with only a faint glow coming from deep within. He took a deep breath, gathering his courage, and stepped inside. The sound of his footsteps echoed through the cave, and he could hear the soft drip of water in the distance. He walked deeper into the cave, and soon he saw a faint golden glow. As he stepped closer, he entered a vast chamber, and there, at the center of the cave, lay the Jajirtaxi beast. It was massive, its body covered in golden scales that shimmered in the dim light. Its single horn was long and curved, gleaming like polished gold. The beast lay still, its eyes closed, as though resting. But as Amir approached, the beast's eyes opened, and it fixed him with an intense, piercing stare. Amir felt small and vulnerable under the beast's gaze, but he held his ground. He knew that this was his final test. The Jajirtachi beast studied him for a long moment, then slowly rose to its feet, its scales glinting in the light. It let out a low growl, the sound reverberating through the cave. Amir stood tall, showing no fear, and looked into the beast's eyes with determination. After a long, silent standoff, the Jajirtachi beast lowered its head as if in respect. It allowed Amir to approach, and with steady hands Amir reached up and took hold of the golden horn. The beast watched him quietly, as though passing on its strength and wisdom. Amir felt a surge of power and courage fill him, and he knew he was ready to return to Zazao as a true leader. With the golden horn in hand, Amir began his journey back to Zazao. Though the path was not easy, he faced each challenge with newfound strength and wisdom. He was no longer just a young prince. He was Amir the Brave, a hero who had proven his worth. When he finally reached the gates of Zazao, the people greeted him with cheers and shouts of joy, and King Musa declared him a true prince of Zazao. From that day on, Amir was known as Amir the Brave, a prince who had faced fearsome beasts, conquered his own doubts, and returned stronger than ever. His journey became a legend, inspiring generations to come, and reminding everyone that true courage comes not from strength alone, but from the heart. And so, the kingdom of Zazao prospered under the rule of a wise, brave leader, whose story lived on in the hearts of his people forever.